confident that this team can deliver on our promise.
Vice President Oshibajo leads committee to hasten poverty reduction agenda.
There's a total of 13 vehicles involved.
Lives lost, vehicles into ashes in a tanker accident along Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. Plus, 9 years after, Farouk goes to jail for corruption. Hello, good evening and welcome to NTA Network News. I am Joseph Johnson. Reading with me tonight is Adiola Komiakere in Lagos. Let's begin by telling you that a 17-man steering committee of the National Poverty Reduction and Growth Strategy has been inaugurated by President Muhammadu Buhari. The committee, chaired by Vice President Yemi Oshibajo, is to anchor collaborative efforts that would enhance the attainment of the government's objectives of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in 10 years. The President also unveiled a strategy document for accelerated reduction in poverty through economic growth, redistributive programs and shared prosperity. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports.
The performance of our economy despite COVID-19 gives me comfort that we can achieve our goal.
President Muhammadu Buhari is optimistic that if India can lift 271 million people out of poverty between 2006 and 2016, 100 million Nigerians can surely be taken out of poverty in 10 years. He said, fortunately, that process has already started, but government needs to, amongst others, tackle the challenges of slow implementation, inappropriate targeting, and absence of adequate resources, as well as scale up and work more with states and local governments.
The major challenge before the National Steering Committee is to translate our good intention into positive impact of every Nigerian so that we create an appreciative impact on the poverty situation in the country. I am very confident that this team can deliver on our promise. I hereby charge you to commence work immediately so that the technical working group will also begin putting the nuts and bolts together.
The steering committee has, amongst other responsibilities, of effectively guiding the technical working group towards the establishment of the proposed Nigeria Investment and Growth Fund, a private equity fund that will lead the resource mobilization drive as well as sustainable management of such resources. The committee is also expected to scale up existing poverty reduction initiatives and leveraging on the various development partner support programs and projects with potentials for quick wins.
I reiterate my confidence that this committee will be able to lay the foundation and demonstrate within the next 2 years the practicality of lifting 100 million Nigerians out of poverty in under 10 years. Nigeria needs to promptly tackle her poverty situation if our economic gains are to be sustained. I wish you well and pray for your success for the good of our dear country, Nigeria.
The National Steering Committee, which has Vice President Yemi Oshibajo as chairman, has secretary to the government of the Federation, chief of staff to the president, 6 governors drawn from each of the geopolitical zones of the country, and 8 ministers as members.
The measure of our success, we know, will lie in our ability to diligently implement our ambitions and the strategy which has been laid out, and the impact that it will have on the lives of the people. The young job seekers, for whom we must provide opportunity, the entrepreneurs who we must assist in growing their businesses on scale, the farmers whose livelihoods we must secure, and the children whose dreams we must make come true.
As we are able to surprise the world with a quick, though fragile, exit from recession in the recent past, it is hoped that the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy will serve not only as a springboard, but also as the template to pull out a massive number of Nigerians out of poverty as promised by Mr. President.
Highlights of the ceremony was the unveiling of the National Poverty Reduction with Growth Strategy document as a further testimony to the resolve of the Buhari presidency to reduce the number of Nigerians living in poverty. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Now described as the engine of economic growth, the federal government says it will continue to lend support towards boosting the development of micro, small and medium enterprises in the country. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo said this during a visit to 2 enterprises in Abuja as part of activities marking the 2021 Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises Week, which will be capped with the National MSME Award Night on Sunday. State House correspondent Gideon Fade reports.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, in company of Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Adeniyi Adebayo, and the Special Advisor to the President on Economic Matters, Adeyemi Dipelu, was received on arrival at Delke Manufacturing by Loveline Mbanefo and went on a tour of the factory. The Vice President says government will continue to provide needed support to operators of micro, small and medium enterprises and create enabling environment to stimulate domestic investment, accelerate growth, generate employment, and reduce poverty, and thereby transforming the country to a vibrant economy.
So much manufacturing going on, so many people are employed, and so much innovation and creativity. Very, very commendable, very commendable. And the Honourable Minister and I have looked around, and we've seen, the potential and what has been done already. And just as you know, I mean, this is our MSME week. We're looking at star MSMEs here and there, trying to see what they're doing and in what ways we can support them. So we're looking forward to working with them.
I want to make Nigerians know that there's nothing we cannot do.
The Vice President also visited a bookstore at Wuse area of the Federal Capital Territory as part of encouragement and assurance that government is committed to addressing challenges facing the nation's micro, small and medium enterprises. In Abuja, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The maiden edition of the Progressive Youth Conference held in Abuja provided an opportunity for the leadership of the executive and legislative arms of government to renew commitment and assured unalloyed passion for youth development in Nigeria. Saliu Abdullahi Gwanara has more.
The Progressive Youth Conference is a platform where participants reviewed the gains and plight of the youth in party leadership and government. This attracted the attention of stakeholders, particularly members of the Progressive family. Vice President of Nigeria, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, urged all Nigerians to work for and project the unity of Nigeria and avoid acts of divisive tendencies, and reiterated that the country's strength is in its unity in diversity.
You are in your prime, at your most creative and your most prolific state. You also have the largest numbers. Clearly, you underestimate your roles and abilities if you do not see your role as taking over the ideological and intellectual direction of the party. The big ideas, the great solutions, the creative plans must come from you. And this is your moment. Human beings are led by ideas.
President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, said the event is timely as plans are on to sustain and expand the support base of the APC without President Muhammadu Buhari on the ballot in subsequent elections.
And I want to take this opportunity to urge as leaders in this party that we must divest some level of power, some level of functionality to our youth in APC. If we want our legacies to be sustained, that is the surest way of making this party a national party that will last long in this country.
The youth have been encouraged to remain focused and faithful in propagating the activities of the Buhari administration that is preparing a fertile ground for them to thrive politically. In Abuja, Salihu Abdullahi Gwanara, NTA News.
Former President Goodluck Jonathan says the Nigerian nation should take continuous steps towards accommodating all kinds of minorities as a way of developing its democracy. He made the call at a legal public lecture held in Abuja. Femi Okewo reports.
Speaking at the 13th public lecture of J.K. Gazama with the theme Redefining Democracy, Yearnings of the Minority in a Democratic Setting, former President Goodluck Jonathan said minorities in a good democracy should not be seen only in terms of ethnic or religious groupings. He said it should be seen in terms of inclusion or exclusion from governance. This, in his estimation, makes women and even youth minority groups in the Nigerian democratic setting in spite of their numbers. Therefore, in view of the grave implications such exclusion can have on our democratic development, all such minority group exclusions, along with language groups, should be consciously avoided by the ruling elite.
The challenge of democracy in most pluralistic societies has always been with the task of balancing the will of the majority in sharing of political patronage, policies and programs with the ethical principle of what is right and just by all concerned.
This year's event is indeed very, very relevant and timely as it brings to the fore once more one of the most topical political issues in Nigeria today.
Organizers of the lecture and other discussants asked for a framework in our democratic governance that would safeguard the rights of the minorities while moderating the excesses of the dominance of the majority. In Abuja, Femi Okewo, NTA News.
So talking legal matters, a High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Akpo, has sentenced former chairman, House of Representatives ad hoc committee investigating fraud in the fuel subsidy regime to 7 years imprisonment for collecting $500,000 bribe from a businessman, Femi Otedola. Presiding Judge Justice Angela Otaluka delivered the judgment after overruling Farouk Lawan's objections. Olabode Arewa has more.
Delivering judgment in the case which has been on since 2013, the court agreed with the prosecution's arguments that the defendant indeed abused his oath of office as a public officer when he solicited for $3 million to remove the name of a company belonging to businessman Femi Otedola from the list of firms indicted for petroleum subsidy fraud in 2012. The court also held that Lawan got $500,000 from the money. Therefore, he is to serve 7 years imprisonment on counts 1 and 2 and 5 years imprisonment for count 3. The sentences are to run concurrently.
It's very clear we are clearly dissatisfied with the judgment delivered by the court. There is no doubt that we are appealing the judgment.
Meanwhile, the court has ordered the convict to refund the $500,000 to the coffers of the federal government. In Abuja, Olabode Arewa.
Let's take some messages now. Do stay with us. It's still NTA Network News with me, Joseph Johnson. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved the composition of a federal government's team to engage with Twitter over the recent suspension of the operations of the microblogging and social networking service in Nigeria. The approval was announced in a statement by the Special Assistant to the Minister of Information and Culture, Segun Adeyemi. Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, will chair the team. The federal government's team also comprises the Attorney General of the Federation and Ministers of Justice, Communications and Digital Economy and that of Foreign Affairs. Others are Ministers of Works and Housing and that of State for Labour and Employment, as well as other relevant government agencies. Following the indefinite suspension of its operations in Nigeria for activities that are capable of undermining Nigeria's corporate existence, Twitter wrote to President Buhari seeking to engage with the federal government over the suspension with a view to charting a path forward. Meanwhile, Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed says the operations of Twitter in Nigeria remains suspended until it registers with and obtains a license from relevant agencies. The minister, during an investigative hearing at the House of Representatives, explains that the suspension of Twitter is because it has become a national security risk by promoting disunity. National Assembly correspondent Lami Ali reports.
Their platform available for separatist groups and people calling for the dismemberment of Nigeria.
Citing several instances to the House Joint Committee investigating the indefinite suspension of the microblogging and social networking site Twitter, in which it became a platform of choice for people and groups promoting activities to destabilize Nigeria, the minister says it's left government with no choice than to suspend its operations. This decision, he adds, is in conformity with local and international laws and conventions on cybersecurity.
To preserve the internal security of Nigerians, it's very instructive that anybody, any platform that threatens the internal security of Nigeria would not be allowed to operate.
He stresses the stance of government not to allow multinationals to trample on Nigeria's sovereignty.
Who is Twitter? Are they a platform, content creator, or are they the judge? We're talking about a sovereign country. Nigeria will not be ruled by the laws of a multinational, no matter how powerful it is.
The Joint Investigative Committee, headed by the Chairman House Committee on Information, Segun Odebumi, was mandated to gather facts on the indefinite suspension of Twitter operations.
The essence of this hearing is to make Nigeria acquainted with reasons for government actions and the subject matter.
I want to appeal to the Honourable Minister that we should go into a negotiation with Twitter to see how this issue can be amicably resolved.
Nigeria first. Let's be honest to ourselves and let's call a spade a spade.
A federal government committee is now in place to engage Twitter sequel to its request for dialogue. From the National Assembly, Lami Ali, NTA News.
With development priorities in many areas, such as infrastructure and energy initiative in the Agenda 2063 of the African Union, which hopes to make Africa a significant power bloc in the world, Nigeria and the African Union have been engaging towards strengthening multilateral cooperation to that effect. At an interaction between Nigeria's Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Deputy Chairperson of the African Union Commission engaged on talks for the creation of opportunities for the people in the continent.
There are also other treaties that would wish you to look at and see how we can support in getting them to a level of effectiveness.
We've done with the vaccine, COVAX, and vaccine distribution on the continent. It's a Herculean task that is required and not easy at all. But I think you've also played a very important part in that. The Peace Fund is something, again, that we supported when it was created.
EU is working to ensure that the continent overcomes its numerous challenges on security, peace and development, just as member nations open the region on free trade and cooperation. President Muhammadu Buhari pledges to bequeath a citizens-led policing system to the nation, declaring that his administration has demonstrated firm commitment towards changing the principle and strategy of policing in Nigeria. The president addressed the passing out parade of 418 officers of the 3rd Regular Cadet Course at the Nigeria Police Academy, Wudil Kanu, where he further explained his directive to the National Salaries, Incomes and Wages Commission on the upward review of police emoluments. In his speech delivered by the Minister of Police Affairs, Megari Dingyadi, the president said a citizens-led policing system informed the approval for the adoption of community policing as the internal security strategy of the country, as well as the approval of funds to support the implementation process.
I've received over the 5 years of your studies at this academy. I have no doubt that you have been appropriately and adequately prepared to go into the field, serve your nation with courage and compassion, and aid the process of restoring stability in our internal security order.
The graduates are reminded of their contributions in complementing government effort at ensuring security. Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State has described as false and baseless the rumored killing of about 1,000 cattle by the military in his state. Speaking to newsmen after an audience with President Muhammadu Buhari, the governor confirmed that the armed forces and the people of the state are working harmoniously in the task of maintaining peace and security.
Most of our security challenges that we have at the moment are offshoot of what happens in Benue. Even with these 1,000 cows, it's because of the anti-grazing law that took place in Benue. And so some cows were arrested by the livestock guards, from Benue. That led into some problems that they had with the military, and then, of course, a couple of cows, maybe about 100 of them were shot. So we don't have any problem anymore concerning farmer herder crisis in Nasarawa State. Thank God. We also don't have any problem at the moment when it comes to the ethnics between one ethnic group and the other. In all the 13 local government areas, only 1 or 2 local government areas are still having a few problems, and those are the local government areas that have border with Benue. That is the Kiana and part of Doma.
Governor Kayode Fayemi of Ekiti State spoke in the same vein, describing the security situation in the country as a challenge, but not insurmountable.
We have managed to see Boko Haram insurgency, for instance, driven down and out in the northeast to a point where they're now running helter-skelter and trying to just create distraction. But that has resulted in one form or another in what we're dealing with in the Northwest. So we need to also tackle that. But as leaders, we must be driven by the courage of our conviction. We must go after the criminals. We must ensure that we apprehend them, and we ensure they face the maximum wrath of the law. That is what governors are doing. That is what the federal government is pursuing, and we shouldn't let that deter us. It's a complementary process. As we're tackling insecurity, we're also focusing on economic development. And economic development would help us to tackle insecurity, because many of the people who are also involved in these opportunistic criminal acts are victims themselves.
Ekiti State Governor Kayode Fayemi there. Senate has confirmed the appointment of Major General Farouk Yahaya as Chief of Army Staff. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that the Senate has also received the 2021 supplementary budget for consideration.
Returning to the chamber after 2 weeks break, senators were greeted by a leaking roof at the National Assembly lobby, which attracted attention and caused worries.
I will call on FCDA, I will call on the Federal Executive Council to also take a look at our submissions and do the needful.
But did not deter the legislators from sitting. Plenary took off with President of the Senate Ahmed Lawan reading presidential request for the consideration of the 2021 supplementary budget of 895.8 billion naira to mainly fund the military, COVID-19 vaccines and Nigeria's HIV/AIDS program in the states. That preceded the confirmation of the new Chief of Army Staff with emphasis on collective responsibility in fighting insecurity in Nigeria.
The military alone cannot resolve the security challenges. The military needs the support of each and every single citizen of this country.
Senate passed the National University of Health and Medical Sciences Suleja Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Sani Musa, and the University of Aerospace and Aeronautics Oka Akoko Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Ajayi Borofis, while the Real Estate Regulation Council Bill by Senator Aliu Wamako, the Solid Minerals Producing Areas Development Commission, sponsored by Senator Oseni Yakubu, and the National Pediatric Center Yala Cross River State Establishment Bill, sponsored by Senator Stephen Ode, passed second reading.
The need to establish the proposed National Pediatric Center is amplified by the recent outbreak of strange diseases which have claimed over 250 lives of children in Cross River North.
Senator Frank Ibezim drew the attention of the Senate to the urgent need for the Federal Ministry of Power to construct the Okigwe Power Transmission Substation. Senator Suleiman Abdul Kwari called for critical assessment of the performance of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan 2017 to 2020.
The Federal Ministry of Power to upgrade the Okigwe Power Facility to a district station.
And the level of implementation of the Central Bank of Nigeria intervention in all sectors.
Senate approved the report of its Committee on Health, which recommended, among other issues, the need to effectively implement the 75% import duties on imported syringes and needles so as to encourage local producers. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTA News.
In Kebbi State, various communities and groups are volunteering in the search and rescue operation for the abducted students of Federal Government's College, Brenin Yauri. The latest group to join the fight against banditry is the Fulani communities across the 21 local government areas of the state. Usman Abdullahi Shehu reports.
Fulani leaders from the 21 local government areas of Kebbi State converge on Government House Burning Kebbi to express solidarity and sympathize with Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu and the people of the state on the abduction of students of the Federal Government College Burning Yauri. The leaders, in their separate remarks, disassociated their communities from the activities of the bandits and informed readiness to support security agencies in eliminating bad eggs from the society. As herders, we are the worst affected by the cattle rustling and other violent crimes presently. We should not remain quiet. We should voice out and report any suspicious behavior to the leaders and authorities for necessary action. We are committed to work together with government and see the end of this violent crimes period. Governor Abubakar Atiku Bagudu, represented by the Special Advisor on Security, retired Major Garba Rabiu Kamba, endorsed their resolve to work together with the security agencies in eliminating criminality and banditry across the state.
The state government has done everything necessary to find support to the security agencies since the first incursion of this banditry in our state.
Usman Abdullahi Shehu, NTA News.
The Nigeria Air Force is partnering the media for credible information dissemination to avoid panic and instability in the country. The Director of Public Relations and Information of General Nigerian Air Force leading the crusade says the need for the collaboration is as a result of heightened tension occasioned by sensational reportage, rumor and fake news which make insurgency to thrive, and the NUJ is in a position to save the nation.
I'll try as much as possible to be open to all of us so that we tell our citizens the true nature of the situation on ground. When we misinform, there are a lot of our people that don't have a way of verifying what we say, and they just swallow it. These things can lead to so many things that we can't even imagine.
By the time you continue to tell us the truth, paint the true picture of the way things are, it will appreciably help us in discharging our responsibilities.
NUJ President Chris Isiguzo says the media is already making efforts to regulate the profession by making practitioners keep to the ethics of their profession and not mislead the public. The Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, says it will continue to promote moral values in its production content for a peaceful society. Director General of NTA, Yakubu Ibn Muhammad, said this when he received a luminary award from the Character Media in collaboration in Abuja. Abdurrahman Osman Jibrila reports.
Feeding millions with information on a daily basis comes with extreme diligence, and that's what NTA does. This award is an acknowledgement of the strategic role NTA is playing towards nation building, and DG Yakub Ibn Muhammad feels motivated.
In the history of this country, done so much with so little as this administration has done, in spite of all the challenges, in spite of the paucity of funds, we are still moving.
NTA has done a great work. There is no way, even in my village, you can receive NTA.
It was a busy day for the NTA DG as he bids farewell to the media character team. The 2021 FRCN, NTA and Von Ramadan Lecture Committee was welcomed for a visit. The NTA DG reminded the team of the critical role of religion in national integration and harmonious living.
In addition to the Ramadan lecture, the three organizations also collaborate and hold a yearly service of songs, carols during the Christmas season. And the three managements of the three organizations support the committees charged with the responsibilities of organizing these two major events that have become part and parcel of the calendar of NTA, FIC, and Voice of Nigeria.
The committee appreciates the support of the management of the three organizations and assured of relentless efforts to propagate the core principles of the religion for a peaceful society. In Abuja, Abdurrahman Usman Jibrila, NTA News.
The NTA DG there awarded by the Character Media Incorporation in Abuja. The community and social development projects under the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development in partnership with critical domestic and international development partners, which started in 2009 has ended. The Minister Hajia Sadia Umar Farouk at the project's closing ceremony disclosed that the project had two additional financings, all totaling 415 million USD. Elizabeth Mori reports.
11 years of existence, the CSDP evolved into one of the effective pillars for the implementation of the social protection programs of the federal government under the supervision of the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management and Social Development through the National Social Safety Nets Coordinating Office. The project builds human capacity at the federal and state levels on the design and implementation of the community-driven development approach in 29 states and the FCT.
CSDP operates with the core principle of community-driven development approach that focuses on the needs of the poor and vulnerable and empowering them with development resources to address their peculiar needs.
Some of the achievements of the project include completion of 16,166 micro-projects comprising 13,962 community micro-projects and 2,204 group micro-projects. It also funded 5,664 community development plans and 934 vulnerable group development plans.
Continue to reorder, rediscover, reprioritize our national development plan. Nigeria will come out of the current challenges strong.
States and groups who made tremendous impact in the progress of the project were honored. In Abuja, Elizabeth Omori, NTA News.
Let's now join Adiola Komiakere in Lagos for more reports.
Thank you, Joseph. The need to resuscitate and rejuvenate eroding values by educating the public on the importance of imbibing ethical values was the crux of a one-day stakeholders dialogue on the implementation of a 7-point national ethics and integrity policy held in Lagos. Amaka O reports.
It was a dialogue that involved 16 identified stakeholder groups from Lagos and Ogun states to enlighten them on the implementable standard operational procedure as they are purveyors of national ethics and integrity policy to the entire populace. This session was organized to ensure that the various key players understand the strategies that will enable them entrench the national ethics and integrity policy at grassroots levels in various parts of the country.
Nigeria is me and you. No matter what you are doing in life, you must carry your country first. Finish. No matter what, I mean, your country is your country.
You have to change your behavior and attitude and be more patriotic and resolve even within you that you are going to get it right and do it right.
You know, and getting the buy-in of Nigerians into this policy so that those ethics and values system of our nation that has gone down to its lowest ebb can now be shot up.
It is expected that the required action plan of the national ethics and integrity policy will be effectively carried out using the appropriate communication tools while addressing existing gaps. In Lagos, Samaka O, NTA News.
Now, 172 persons have become certified and registered as advertising practitioners with a professional diploma from the Advertising Practitioners Council of Nigeria. Imole Tokede Ogunfowora, who witnessed the induction and graduation ceremonies in Lagos, reports that it is coming 10 years after its last induction.
Babatunde Ogunbawo, a first-class graduate from the University of Lagos, is among the 99 persons inducted into the Associate Membership Program. His decision to join the council is to widen his horizon.
I know the advantages in being a registered advertising practitioner in Nigeria, and to practice advertising, I have to be inducted.
Samuel Adeniyi, a petroleum engineer, has now gained knowledge outside his profession.
This is the first step, associate member. So I think the next step is the full membership, then the final, which is the fellow.
The registrar, Olalekan Fadolapo, stated that there is need to reposition the advertising industry and improve service delivery to the registered practitioners.
We want to strengthen the practice and the business of advertising. And we want everyone that is a member of this profession to be proud of the certificate and the practice that they are given. We want to equate the practice of advertising with what is obtainable in other professions.
The only way you can drive relevance is to continuously and continually embrace learning and strive for excellence in all you do.
14 associate members were also upgraded to full membership in advertising. As these new members go out to unleash their potential in modern advertising, the registrar and other officials are optimistic that the applicants will work assiduously and inculcate the basic understanding of ethical practice and principles that will help in influencing their approach to work. In Lagos, Imole Ayotokede Ogunfowora, NTA News.
And that's it from Lagos. Another break.
Thanks for staying. Let's bring you business news now with Benny.
Thanks, Joseph, and welcome to Business. The federal government says the second National Action Plan of Open Government Partnership, OGP, is driven by the need to make positive impact on the ordinary citizens by identifying and addressing issues that restrict their effective participation in governance, as well as deepen transparency mechanisms. Neka Oko reports that this was disclosed by the Minister of State for Budget and National Planning at the second quarterly meeting of OGP thematic working groups in Abuja.
thematic meeting set up today is just to get the teams to have a better understanding of the various roles of the 7 thematic areas. So it's just for cohesion, for effectiveness, and for efficiency.
A lot of government policies that are being implemented are not being recognized because the citizens were not involved and didn't know what government is doing on their own side. But with the co-creation principles of OGP, citizens are now being intertwined with government in carrying out and implementing these policies.
Action plan has 16 commitments and 7 thematic areas that include fiscal transparency, anti-corruption, and citizens' engagement. And on the capital market, investors lost 363.91 billion naira as NGX all-share index dips further by 1.81%. Equities closed at 37,847.07 basis points as against 0.27% depreciation recorded previously. Market breadth closed negative as Fitson led 17 gainers as against 23 losers, topped by Airtel Afri at the end of today's session. That is business news. Joseph, is over to you.
Thank you, Benny. The federal government cannot fold its arms and allow vulnerable groups in the country to suffer. The special advisor to President Muhammadu Buhari on social investment, Mariam Uwais, disclosed this in Gombe during the launch of At-Risk Children Project in Gombe State. Emmanuel Akila reports that Governor Muhammadu Inuwa Yahaya also inaugurated special marshals that would help drive such intervention projects.
The global concern about vulnerable people places African countries at the top of the statistics. For Nigeria to confront the challenges, the Buhari administration came up with the At-Risk Children Project to help the category of Nigerians who are classified as being at risk.
He wants to ensure that every child gets their rights and they're protected and their challenges are addressed.
Gombe State, as the first in the country to key into the presidential initiative, does that to help address its problems of children malnutrition, out-of-school children, and other challenges facing vulnerable people in the state.
Our girl child population are mostly exposed to street hawking, child labor, and often end up in commercial domestic services rather than the pursuit of formal education in a bid to provide livelihood to their families.
Stakeholders are optimistic that the initiative would help reduce societal ills that often result in crimes. Governor Muhammadu Inuwa Yahaya used the occasion to also inaugurate special marshals who volunteered to help drive the ARC project in Gombe. Emmanuel Akila, NTA News.
2 lives and 13 vehicles were lost on Tuesday in a tanker inferno at the Ogere section of Lagos-Ibadan Expressway in Ogun State. Yemi Dalmo reports that 2 other victims of the accident are in critical condition at the hospital.
The accident was said to have occurred when the petroleum tanker driver loaded with premium motor spirit lost control of the vehicle as a result of brake failure and rammed into other vehicles along the expressway. Ogun State Sector Commander, Federal Road Safety Commission, Ahmed Umar, explained that the tanker caught fire, which also affected 13 other vehicles, while 2 lives were lost to the incident.
There's a total of 13 vehicles involved. 6 tankers, all loaded. 5 trailers and 2 smaller cars. 2 lives are lost. People burnt beyond recognition.
Ogun State Deputy Governor Noimon Salako Oyedele, who was at the scene to commiserate with the victims, advised motorists and other road users to obey traffic rules and regulations.
This is an exceptional situation that we have found ourselves in, and we're going to do our best to make sure that this is resolved as soon as possible. Where it is possible to take an alternative route, please do so.
Normalcy is gradually returning to the area as men of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Ogun State Traffic Compliance and Enforcement Agency TRACE, as well as the Ogun State Ministry of Special Duties are working tirelessly to ensure free flow of traffic along the expressway. In Abuja, Yemi